Have you ever found yourself in a moment of total stress and overwhelm, where everything is feeling out of control and food starts to feel like the only way to cope? In today's episode, I'm sharing what happened last week during my workshop when my own nervous system got completely dysregulated and how I responded in a way that is very different from how I used to when I was caught in the cycle of binge eating. Welcome to Binge Eating Breakthrough, the podcast to help you stop feeling out of control around food and build trust with your body. If you've tried everything but still feel stuck, you're not alone. I've been there too. I'm Jane Pilger, and I'm here to help you see binge eating in a new way so you can finally break free. Each week, you'll get the tools and insights to create peace with food and your body. Your breakthrough starts now. Hello, trusted listener. I consider you a trusted listener because I know that you're here seeking deeper understanding about your relationship with food. And I trust that today's real life example is going to give you valuable insight into how nervous system regulation becomes the foundation for freedom from binge eating. When we talk about healing our relationship with food, we're often told it's about more willpower, more control, or stricter strategies. But what if the real key has nothing to do with willpower at all? Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain. I'm going to show you what happens in real time when our nervous system gets activated and how to move through it without turning to food for regulation. So last week, I hosted a workshop. It was called How to Stop Binge Eating Without Diets, Rules, or Willpower. And I set this workshop up. I set it up as a Zoom meeting rather than a webinar because I love seeing people's faces. It creates a connection that's missing in webinar format when I feel like I'm just talking to the air and I can't see the responses of anybody on the other side. So the workshop started and a handful of people joined right at the start time, and I was excited and I jumped into the presentation. And after a few minutes, I noticed somebody commenting in the chat box about a wrong Zoom link. Somebody else chimed in and confirmed, yep, the reminder email had a link to Zoom that did not work. So in that moment, I paused the workshop and I asked those people who were there, who had come in through a different link, for their patience while I quickly sent an email to everyone who had registered with the correct link. And as this was happening, I found myself reflecting on how calm I was feeling, despite this technical hiccup. I even mentioned to the participants that this very same situation would have completely sent me spinning just a few years ago. As someone who has struggled with perfectionistic tendencies, I have done considerable work on allowing myself to make mistakes and to be human and extending that same grace to others. So I sent out the correct link, and attendees began flooding into the meeting as they received the email with the right link. And this seemed great. I was very excited. Okay, good. We're ready to go. Except there was one other critical oversight on my part. I did not adjust the meeting settings to ensure that all participants were automatically muted upon joining. So some people recognized this. They saw it and they muted themselves, but others didn't. And we have probably all been in Zoom meetings by now where somebody is not muted to know how this can be distracting. So I'm in the meeting. I'm trying to scan through the growing list of attendees to identify who wasn't muted so that I could adjust it from my end. And I'm also trying to navigate what I'm saying. And as more people joined, it became increasingly difficult while also trying to manage my presentation slides. I could feel my internal temperature rising as my nervous system became more activated. My heart, it was kind of slightly racing, and I felt that kind of familiar tension building up in my chest. And then someone joined the meeting with what sounded like feedback from their speakers. It created this piercing, screeching noise that went on for way longer than any of us would have liked. And I could not immediately identify the source, which only intensified my nervous system activation. I was scanning through, I was trying to figure out who was it, what is going on, while also listening to this screeching and thinking about not only what was happening for me, but what everybody else must be thinking and feeling. And I finally got the audio issue resolved. I found out who it was. I put them on mute. I asked a member of my Cultivate program who was in attendance to help. I made her co-host so that she could manage muting the participants so that I could take my focus off of that. And I was ready to jump back into the workshop material. At that point, I knew, okay, problem solved. We've got a solution. Now we can keep going. But here is where something really important happened. I noticed what was happening inside my body. I noticed my nervous system was significantly activated. I could feel the excess energy in my body. There was this buzzing sensation in my chest and a fluttering in my heart. My cheeks felt warm. And in that moment, instead of pushing through or pretending like everything was fine, I recognized what I needed. I needed to describe what was happening within me, to narrate it and make sense of it. I needed to give myself a little bit of space between what I was feeling and experiencing and my experience itself. And then I needed to ground myself and send signals of safety to my body. So that is exactly what I did right there in front of all of the workshop participants. This is what makes my approach completely different from anything that you have likely tried before. In that workshop, I was sharing my 5-step path to peace with food. It's a methodology that doesn't rely on more rules, diets, or willpower. Instead, it's about expanding your capacity to be with whatever is coming up for you, not fighting against it, not pushing through it, not wishing it wasn't there. This path, it starts with awareness, moves into understanding for what truly drives your behavior, then focuses on building your nervous system capacity, which is what I was demonstrating in real time. So in that moment, in that workshop, before we really had even gotten started, I described what was happening in my body. And I acknowledged what might have been happening for them too. Frustration at not being able to join with an incorrect link. And then finally getting in the meeting only to experience noise and distraction. I explained what was happening for all of us and how it made sense. Then I guided all of us through some grounding exercises so we could be fully present for the workshop content. What was so amazing about it is that this moment, this transparent moment of regulation, became exactly what everybody needed. The chat was filled with supportive messages, like, "You're handling this beautifully. This is a true reflection of resilience." And my favorite, "If I didn't know better, I'd think you planned this as a teaching moment." Now, I assured them I would never intentionally create such chaos, but it did become a very powerful demonstration of the very principles I teach. Now, years ago, if I had been in the same situation, I would have white knuckled my way through, pretending I was fine, because I believe that's what strong, in control people did. But that kind of willpower only approach always backfired later. I am confident that I would have ended up eating after that. I would have pretended everything was okay. I would have pushed through, and then I would have used food to try to push down all of that excess energy that I was feeling in my body. That energy needs a place to go. It doesn't need to be pushed down. It needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be witnessed. And then it needs room to dissipate. So the question becomes, how can you apply this to your own life, especially as it relates to your relationship with food? So I want you to think for yourself. Think about the last time that you recall noticing yourself getting heated in the moment. So here's a few examples. Maybe it was something like a stressful work deadline. You could feel the deadline coming. You could feel that energy building up in your body as you thought about what you had to do, how little time you had left to get it done. Maybe it was an argument with your partner where you could feel yourself getting agitated, thinking they don't listen to you. They don't understand. Why can't they just do whatever they said they were going to do or what you asked them to do, whatever it is? Maybe it was a comment about your body or your food choices. Somebody said something to you, looked at you in a particular way, and you noticed something happening inside you. Or maybe it was just feeling overwhelmed by your to-do list, looking at your list and thinking there is too much to do, not enough time. So think about that time for yourself. Bring this into your awareness, and we're going to talk about what are the 5 steps that you can take when this happens. Now, the magic happens, the real magic happens when you can become aware of your activation as it is happening. So you can make adjustments before it escalates too far. So when you're within your window of tolerance is that space where there's still some sense of safety within your body. The window of tolerance was coined by Dan Siegel, and it is basically the window of space, the area in which you are able to tolerate distress. You may have a small window, you may have a bigger window. But if you're still in the window, you are able to maintain the ability to engage your thinking brain, to make conscious adjustments. When we're outside of the window, we're not able to do that. Now, before we go on, I want to be really clear about something that is very important. The goal isn't to never get activated. The goal isn't to be calm all of the time. That is an impossible standard that just creates more shame when we do feel overwhelmed, when we feel frustrated, when we feel angry, whatever we're feeling. We're not trying to feel calm and grounded all the time. Here's the goal. It's to expand your capacity to work with whatever is happening, not against it. We want to increase the size of our window of tolerance. It's about developing awareness and tools for adaptation. And just like any skill, we get better at this with practice and with time. Now, if you let activation go too far, you get outside of the window, you won't have the capacity to engage your thinking brain, your prefrontal cortex. That's when you're likely to flip your lid, as it can be described, when your prefrontal cortex goes offline and your amygdala takes over. Your amygdala is that survival part of your brain that is always scanning. Am I safe? Am I safe? Now, from there, if you have flipped your lid, if you have gone out of the window, we're in a survival response, you might find yourself in fight mode, lashing out, flight mode, avoiding, or completely shutting down. And even if you are in any of these three, fight, flight, or shutdown, this is often precisely when food becomes the quickest path to regulation. Food becomes the way that we try to regulate ourselves. But here's the good news. There are many exit ramps along the way, especially as you practice nervous system awareness. And the more you develop this skill, the wider your window of tolerance becomes. So as I said before, this workshop situation would have played out very differently years ago when I was still deep in my binge eating struggle. My window of tolerance was very small. Tolerance for mistakes. And I could see it even when that mistaken link, there was no alert. My amygdala was not even very activated. It was like, all right, let's fix this. Now it got activated as more things happened, as there was more noise, as that screeching came in. That's where I started to get closer to my window of tolerance, closer to the edge of my window of tolerance. Now, today, with this greater capacity comes more ability to tolerate discomfort with that larger window. And in that, then you are also able to notice when activation is happening and make the small shifts that are needed to send the body the signals that everything really is okay. So let me share with you the specific steps that I took in that moment that you can apply when you notice your own nervous system becoming dysregulated. So as you listen to these steps, I want you to think back to that example of the most recent time it happened to you and imagine you doing this in that moment. It will make it real for you and make it real for your brain instead of just listening to a 5-step checklist. Listen to this with your own situation in mind and see if you can imagine yourself, picture yourself doing this. Okay, step number 1, pause and acknowledge. So rather than pushing through, what I did was I paused. I acknowledged what was happening, both to myself and transparently with others. Number 2, describe the sensations. I noticed and I named the physical sensations. The buzzing in my chest, the warmth in my cheeks, my fluttering heart. Number 3, validate the experience. I didn't judge myself for feeling activated. I understood it as a normal response to an unexpected situation. Number 4, take regulatory action. I used grounding techniques, feeling my feet on the floor, taking deeper breaths, and engaging my senses to come back to the present moment. Number 5, proceed with intention. Only after regulating did I continue with the workshop, now from a more centered place. So back to thinking about your scenario, pause and acknowledge. Can you picture yourself just pausing? If you're with a partner, if you're with a coworker, if you're with somebody else, acknowledge what is happening for you. Here is what is going on for me right now. Describe the sensations. Name them. Validate the experience. Here's how it makes sense. We're both seeing things from a different lens right now. You've got a lot going on. Oh, yeah, it makes sense. Whatever it is, validate. Take regulatory action. Do something to regulate your nervous system. If you've got a lot of energy, if you're in that fight or that flight place, you need to do something to bring the energy down. Deep breaths are an amazing way to do this. Movement. If you are in more of a collapse, shutdown place, we want to do something to increase the amount of energy in your body. Again, we can use breathing, but we might want shorter, quicker breaths. And again, we can use movement. And then we proceed with intention. with intention, not from a place of completely dissociating or disconnecting. So we can use these same steps when you feel the urge to binge. The next time you notice yourself reaching for food in response to stress or emotional discomfort, see if you can take these 5 steps. Number 1, pause and acknowledge what's happening. Number 2, describe the physical sensations you're experiencing. Number 3, validate your experience without judgment. Number 4, take regulatory action that doesn't involve food. Number 5, proceed with intention from a more regulated state. This is precisely the work I do with my clients. Whether it's in my high-touch small group coaching program, Cultivate, or in one-on-one private coaching. We build awareness of nervous system activation. We develop personalized strategies for regulation that don't depend on food. And when your body learns that you can regulate your nervous system in ways that actually address the underlying needs, food becomes food again, not an essential emotional management tool. Now, what happened in this workshop was a real-time example of what it means to work with your nervous system instead of fighting against it. Traditional approaches often focus on control, restriction, or trying harder. But those strategies don't usually hold up when life gets overwhelming because they don't address what's actually happening in your body, what's happening under the hood, what's happening with your nervous system. And if you're tired of that cycle, of trying to rely on willpower when you really need support, I want you to know there is a different way forward. You don't have to navigate those high stress, high stakes moments alone. That's exactly why I offer Swift support sessions. These are 2 focused, compassionate calls designed to help you right in the moments you need it most. Whether you're feeling stuck after a binge, overwhelmed by food decisions, or just unsure how to move forward, because there is so much conflicting advice out there on this topic. These sessions give you the space to pause, to get clear, to reconnect with yourself, and to get guidance and support from somebody who has been there. You'll find the link in the show notes, or you can go to janepilger.com/support to learn more and book your sessions. And if you happen to be listening to this podcast in April of 2025, you can still watch the replay of that workshop, Stop Binge Eating Without Diets, Rules, or Willpower, and watch the whole thing that I just described unfold. It literally happens in the first 5 minutes of the workshop. And then I dive in to the workshop I was planning to give. But those first 5 minutes, you can see what happens there. That replay is going to be available through April 30th, and that link is also in the show notes. I want you to remember, this work is not about perfection. It is not about willpower. It is not about fixing yourself. It's about learning to listen to your body, to respond with care, even in the messy moments. Your nervous system truly is a gift, and it is a key in unwinding and understanding your binge eating. That's what I have for you today. I'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to Binge Breakthrough. If you would like personalized guidance, insight, and support to implement the tools, skills, and concepts you are learning on this podcast, I have just what you need. Cultivate an entirely new relationship with yourself and with food, alongside other women who know and understand your struggles. Coaching, connection, and change are waiting for you. Spots are limited, so sign up today. Find out more at janepilger.com/cultivate.